This is a lesson for R-5. Now, what I did was I broke R-5 into two parts. So this is really R-5 day one. All right. Tomorrow we'll do R-5 day two. This is actually the first half of chapter 3 that we just did about 2 months ago or so. All right. So this is all about graphing and slope and Y-intercept. So what you have to remember is, first of all, the slope formula. When you're given 2 points like this, you need to use the slope formula. The slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember that all points are written x comma y. So inside the parentheses, the first number is your x, the second number is your y. When you go to do these problems on this page, remember that all points are written x comma y, x comma y. Whatever your first point is, those get ones. Whatever your second point is, those get twos. So when we take a look at this first example, we have 2 points here. We have -5, 6 and 9, 3. -5 is an x, 6 is a y. 9 is an x and 3 is a y because all points are written x comma y. Now we got to figure out the ones and twos. -5 comma 6 is your first point. So these get ones. 9 comma 3 is your second point. So these get twos. Now that you figured out your x's and your y's, your ones and your twos, what you want to do is you want to draw a fraction bar and put your 2 minus signs. That fraction bar and those 2 minus signs comes from this formula. Those are always there. Now the formula says y2 minus y1. Our y2 value is 3. Our y1 value is 6. So going across the top, we have 3 minus 6. Going across the bottom, we have x2 minus x1. Our x2 value is 9. Our x1 value is -5. So here we have 9 minus -5. All that we want to do is do those 2 calculations separately. You want to take your calculator and type in, going across the top, 3 minus 6. 3 minus 6 is -3. Going across the bottom, we have 9 minus -5. 9 minus -5 is 14. So our final answer is -3 over 14. On your class kick homework today, what you want to do is you want to type in your fraction like this using a slash. So -3 slash 14. Let's take a look at the middle one. Again, all points are written x comma y. So 5 is an x, 6 is a y. 7 is an x, 10 is a y. 5 comma 6 is your first point, so these get ones. 7 comma 10 is your second point, so these get twos. You put your fraction bar, put your 2 minus signs, because that comes right from the formula. y2 minus y1. So we have 10 minus 6 on the top. x2 minus x1. 7 minus 5 across the bottom. 10 minus 6 across the top is 4. 7 minus 5 is 2. Now, if this was a multiple choice question, like on a state test, you would not see 4 over 2 listed as a choice. They would reduce that fraction. So they would go and divide by 2 and divide by 2 to reduce that fraction. That fraction actually reduces to 2 over 1. So if this was a multiple choice question, you wouldn't see the 4 over 2. You'd see 2 or 2 over 1 listed instead. In class kick today, you can type in either one of those 2 answers and it'll mark it right. Take a look at this third one. All points are written x comma y. So 2 is an x, -1 is a y. 7 is an x, 3 is a y. -2 comma 1 is your first point, so these get ones. 7 comma 3 is your second point, so these get twos. Draw your fraction bar, put your 2 minus signs. y2 minus y1. 3 minus -1. x2 minus x1, 7 minus 2. Type those two things into the calculator. 3 minus -1. 3 minus -1 is 4. 7 minus 2. 7 minus 2 is 5. So we get the fraction 4/5. On your homework today, you have 3 questions just like these. The second kind of question that you're going to have today involves slope and y-intercept. Slope, remember the abbreviation for slope is M. Slope is always written as a fraction. The top number in your fraction is how many places you go up or down. Up if it's positive, down if it's negative. And the bottom number in your fraction is how many places we go over to the right. Remember, we always go over to the right. Never, ever, ever go back to the left. All right. We always go over to the right, just like you're reading a sentence. Your y-intercept is abbreviated yi, and that is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. Now remember, this green or this purple line is your y-axis. So we want to know where that line crosses the y-axis. When we go to write our answer for a y-intercept, it's always 0, comma, a number, 0, comma, where that line crosses the y-axis. Now, there are 2 special cases. The 2 special cases are when you have a vertical line. A vertical line goes straight up and down. When it is a vertical line, the answer to slope is no slope when it's a straight up and down line. So you actually type the word no and then slope. When it is a horizontal line, a line that goes straight across, that's technically known as 0 slope. We can still write that as a fraction, just like we write all the other slopes, but we're going to have a 0 on the top because as you go from left to right, just like you read a sentence, you're going up 0 and then over how many? So like, for example, 0/2. So the other types of questions that you're going to have to write involve writing an equation writing the equation of the line. So equations of lines are written like this: y equals mx plus b. So you might have, for example, y equals 2x plus 1. That would be an equation of a line. That's what you'll have to type into class K. So we want to find the slope, find the y-intercept, and then write our equation. So take a look at this first one. In this first one, the first thing that we want to do is find the slope. How do you go from dot to dot to dot, going from left to right, just like you read a sentence? So what we're really doing here is we're going down 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Down 1, 2, 3, over 1. Now, because we're going down 3, that's going to be a -3 because we're going down. Anytime we go down, down is negative. And then we're going over 1 to the right. We always go over to the right. We never go over to the left. So we're going down 3 over 1, down 3 over 1. Your y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. So where does the line cross this purple line? It crosses it right here at 5. So when we write our y-intercept, we write 0, 5 inside parentheses. Now, when you go to write the equation of the line just takes those 2 answers and smushes them together. Your slope, this -3/1, goes in front of your x. Then whatever your plus or minus is your y-intercept. So we have a y-intercept of 5. That's a +5. So we write +5. So our equation of our line is y equals -3/1x. You could just write that also as -3x and then +5. Either of those 2 answers would be perfectly fine. Remember in class kick today, when you type your equation of the line, don't type any spaces in between anything. Take a look at this second one. In this second one, how do you go from dot to dot to dot? How many do you go up? And then how many you go over? So we're going up 1, 2, 3, over 2. Up 1, 2, 3, over 2. So our slope is 3 over 2. That really means up 3 over 2. Our y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. The line crosses the y-axis right here at -3. So it is 0, comma, -3. When we go to write our equation, we've got to smush those two answers together. So our slope, 3 over 2, goes in front of our x. And then we have a -3 here. So we're going to write -3 after the x. So again, on your homework today, you'll have 2 questions just like this. Don't forget these 2 up here in the orange. Vertical line is no slope. Horizontal line is 0 slope. The next type of question that you're going to have today involves graphing using the chart method. When you graph using the chart method, we have 3 numbers in for x. Most of the time, we're going to take and sub in a 0, 1, and 2. However, when we have a fraction, we pick multiples of the fraction. So for example, 0, 3, and 6 there. What we want to do is we want to take those numbers, 0, 1, and 2 for our x values, and sub them into x in the equation. So instead of x plus 3, we're going to sub in our 0 and have 0 plus 3. Instead of x plus 3, we're going to have 1 plus 3. Instead of x plus 3, we're going to have 2 plus 3. Whatever your answer is, your answer goes in the y column. So 0 plus 3 is 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. 2 plus 3 is 5. When you go to graph points, your x value is how many we go over. Your y value is how many you go up or down. How many times this year have I said that? Probably about 60, 70, 80. All right. So when we go to graph points, we always start right here, right in the middle at 0, 0. Starting at that green dot right in the middle, we want to go over 0 up to 3. So over 0 up to 3 and put a dot. 1, 4. Starting in the middle, over to 1, up to 4. And 2, 5. Starting in the middle, over to 2, up to 5. Connect the dots, put your arrows, and you should always label your line. Don't forget that to put the arrows on the ends. That's super, super important. You have to put the arrows on the ends of your lines. And all of these graphs today should form a straight line. If you get some sort of V-shaped graph, you did something wrong. All right. Take a look at this second one. We had the fraction 1/3. Now, 1/3, when you do 1 divided by 3 on the calculator, you really get 0.333333333.
Haven't we already did this lesson before?
Yep, this is all review for the state test. Everything that we do these couple weeks are all review. So 1/3 is 0.3 repeating. So we have 0.3333333. You want to fill up that whole screen on your calculator with 3s times 0 plus 1. 0.33333 times 3 plus 1 and 0.33333 times 6 plus 1. Again, all that we did was we subbed in our x values in for x into the equation. We want to put our answer in the y column. So when you type this into the calculator, 0.33333 times 0 plus 1, you get an answer of 1. 0.3 repeating times 3 plus 1 is 2. 0.3 repeating times 6 plus 1 is 3. Your x value is how many we go over. Your y value is how many you go up or down. Remember, when you start graphing points, we always want to start right here, right in the middle at 0, 0. So we're graphing the point 0, 1 over 0 up to 1. 3, 2, starting in the middle, over to 3, up to 2. And 6, 3, starting in the middle, over to 6, up to 3. Connect the dots. Whoa, I missed. Let me go back here. Connect the dots Put your arrows. It should form a straight line. If it doesn't form a straight line, you did something wrong. And you should always label your line. So on your homework today, you'll have 2 questions just like this. I believe the fraction on your homework is a 1/2. 1/2 is 1 divided by 2. It's really 0.5 is 1/2. And take a look at the last type of question that you're going to be doing today. The last type of question that you're going to be doing is graphing using the slope Y-intercept method of graphing lines. When you use the slope Y-intercept method, we want to find the slope. The slope is the number that's in front of your X. And you want to find the Y-intercept, which is 0, comma, whatever your plus or minus your number is. So we want to find the slope, find the Y-intercept, and then starting at the Y-intercept, we want to graph that line for that point first, and then follow the slope pattern twice. How many up or down, and then how many over to the right. Remember, we always go over to the right. You never, ever, ever go over to the left. So looking at this equation, your slope is the number that's in front of your X. So your slope is 2, but we want to write that slope as a fraction. So we want to write it as 2 over 1. Anytime that you have a non-decimal number like that, doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative, we want to put that over 1. So this really means up to over 1. And remember, we always want to go over to the right.
And your Y-intercept would be 0, comma 1.
Yep, our Y-intercept would be 0, comma 1 because we have a plus 1. Remember, when you go to graph this, your Y-intercept is always somewhere on that green line. So 0, comma 1 is right here. That's the first dot that we're going to graph. Now we want to graph 2, 1. Up to over 1, put a dot. Up to over 1, put a dot. Your 3 dots should form a straight line. If they don't form a straight line, you did something wrong. Put your arrows on the ends of your line, and you should always label your line. Let's try one more. Your slope is the number in front of your X, so your slope is negative 1/3. Now that negative really means down 1 over 3. And remember, we always go over to the right. Your Y-intercept is 0, comma, -2. It's -2 because of the -2. Your first dot is always somewhere on the Y-axis. So your first dot is at 0, -2, which is right here. Starting from there, we're going to go down 1 over 3 to the right. Down 1 over 3 to the right. Connect the dots. Put your arrows. And you should always label your line. So you'll have 2 questions just like this